Welcome in. Soccer is weird here in the United States, and today a uniquely American event will go down. 10:30 Eastern, the expansion draft for a brand new franchise, San Diego FC.
Yes, San Diego will get to pick five players from a pool of a lot. I think it's like 300 or something. MLS teams were able to protect 12 players on their current rosters, which means a lot of players who are pretty good are going to be left unprotected. There's also this other side of this. So, again, San Diego can only pick five. The chances you get picked are pretty small. It depends on your salary, obviously your age, what San Diego's looking for. San Diego could grab players in a bid to trade them either back to the team that currently has them, which is such a weird MLS thing, or to somebody else. That's a thing they could try to get assets that way. But I also think the other part of this is for the clubs who have to leave certain guys unprotected. Those guys are like, "What the hell, man? What the hell? You're leaving me unprotected? Come on!" And then you got to deal with that.
That's a uniquely American feeling, right? I mean, I understand like maybe it comes out in the news for a European player that, you're being shopped or whatever, but just like, some other team can come get you. That's okay.
Well, in Europe, this again, this is the thing, and MLS has gotten better about this. Started to take on it started to move in the right direction in terms of this. But in Europe, you can't be sold unless you want to go. Right? Now, you may have to negotiate with if your team really doesn't want you, they may say, "Hey, we really don't want you. You're going to sit on the bench and you're not going to play. You don't want to be here anymore." And they may force your hand to leave, but the player has to assent to a move. In this case, very much like an MLS trade or anything else, the player doesn't have any say. If you get picked, you get picked. Now you're a San Diego FC player, at least for a moment.
Some of you said that the list of available players is pretty large, but after scanning the list, some of the notable available players include Carlos Vela, Hector Herrera, Victor Wanyama, Joseph Martinez, Kai Kamara, Julian Gressel, Luis Muriel, Alex Ring, Yamil Assad.
None of those guys are getting picked. Not a single one of those guys is getting picked.
Too
Nobody's
old.
picking Ache. No, that's not happening on his
Not even in
salary. I
San
mean,
Diego.
no, well, first of all, his rights are held by the Dynamo, but he's not a Dynamo player anymore. We know he's leaving. No, I think San Diego's going to want to sign their own big budget players. They already have Chuco Lozano coming in, so that's one they can check off in terms of those spots. You don't want to sign a player that's going to eat up a bunch of your salary. You want to go pick that guy yourself, probably, or sign that guy yourself. There may be some young talent here, some guys that are sort of building blocks that I could see get taken. I mean, it's really it comes down to what San Diego wants to do. Do they want to use these as assets to sell, or do they want to use these players as actual pieces to build upon? So, I don't know.
I know there's kind of been a mixed online response to what San Diego's done so far. Could they do tonight where your eyebrows go, I don't know if they're beating down the right trail here?
Pick one of those big names. Pick a big expensive name, and then okay, what is that about? Raul Ruiz Diaz is he going back to Seattle? How much are you going to pay him in terms of salary? I mean, you have to negotiate a deal with the guys that are out of contract. So there's that. I mean, you can draft a player and have his rights, but there's no guarantee that if he doesn't have a contract, you're going to be able to get one done. So it is fascinating. I'm not enmeshed enough in San Diego's thinking. Mikey Veras as a coach to say, well, that's a guy they should definitely pick or whatever. I mean, again, if they take a big name, a DP level player, I would be shocked.
Kind of searching in your memory banks, who is a player that get picked up that or is there anyone that's on that availability list that, seemed like an integral part to their MLS club and you're kind of surprised? Because my mind kind of goes back to
Well, but this is the
2017
risk.
Latif Blessing.
Okay, but
Like
this
he
is the
seemed
risk.
an important player.
Obviously turned out to be a very good player for LA FC for a while. So that's a good one. That's interesting. I'll say that you take a risk if you're Seattle, like for example, you're Seattle. They want Albert Rusnak to come back. He was massive for them this season. He's unprotected. He's right there. If San Diego wants to take Albert Rusnak, they could do that. Now, if they take him and Seattle says, "Yeah, he's yours," they are now on the hook for paying Albert Rusnak what he makes, and I believe DP level contract Albert Rusnak at one point. I think they want to try to get him down, the number down in Seattle, because then that opens up other opportunities for them to sign other players, and they want to build for next year after this year making a conference final. But it could be a bluff situation because Seattle wants him. But if San Diego takes him, Seattle doesn't have to take him back. They don't have to trade assets to get back a player they just had if they don't want to. I think the best story that I can recall, and I'm glad you brought up Latif Blessing. That's a really, truly smart pick that turned out good for Bob Bradley and LAFC. But my fun story about the MLS expansion draft is that when Montreal entered the league, Montreal Impact, I believe 2011, 2012, something like that, Brian Chang was on the tail end of his career with the Houston Dynamo. And, of course, that Brian Chang's a Dynamo legend. He'd helped them win multiple trophies. He'd done some things in San Jose as well. The Impact picked him, and he said, I would rather retire than play for you. I would rather retire than eat poutine. No, I don't know what it was about. He didn't want to leave Houston.
That's like an Eli Manning move. Didn't Eli Manning get drafted and he kind of cried and then he got traded to the Giants?
That is 100% right. So, he didn't want to go there and force the hand of the clubs that were interested, the teams that were interested. Brian Ching was a Montreal player for a brief period of time, and then the Dynamo did what they needed to do from a loyalty perspective and traded back. And Jesse Marsh, giant cojones on that guy, because it was not the nice thing to do to take Brian Ching, a club legend in Houston, who really probably didn't have a lot of utility for the Impact in their first season. But Jesse Marsh was like, oh, no, we think Brian Ching can be a good part of our new franchise in Montreal. And then, of course, it was, we'll sell him back to you for a price. It was that,
So, I mean, I guess that's on MLS Houston. That's on Houston. Houston allowed themselves to be extorted there in that situation.
That's true. But again, this comes back to the fact you can only protect so many players. So if you don't protect players like Brian Ching and they get picked, you got to deal with the repercussions of it. I mean, and I haven't, again, you talked about the names on this list that are sort of the notable ones that are like, oh, wow, I can't believe that guy's sitting out there for San Diego to pick. Yeah, that's a thing. But again, there's sort of this, there's only 5 picks. It's only 5. There's a lot of names here. There's only 5. Are they really going to take somebody with a big cap number that's going to tie them up if they're not able to get rid of that player right away? You don't want to have to bring in a player and go, well, actually, we don't want you, so we're going to cancel your contract, because they have to buy it out, right? It'll be on their books unless they use a buyout, and you don't want to use a buyout on something like that. Chicago, Fabian Herbers maybe could be interesting. FC Cincinnati, I see Corey Baird always makes an effort, always a game player. Nicholas Giacchini is there, Nick Hageland, Alvis Powell back into his career. Colorado Rapids, Lalas Abubakar has been decent defender in this league.
Yeah, that
Jasper
sounds like
Loffelson.
Abubakar is the first name that you've read that seems like he's probably not a big money hit, and he's always been a handy, useful player. Like, the expansion draft essentially is to get squad players, right?
Yeah, more than anything else, I guess that's probably true. I mean, again, you could make an argument that, hey, we need a veteran presence. Very much the way that Dax McCarty bounced between different clubs and was the guy, like in Nashville. If they didn't have Dax McCarty, would they have been as good as they were out of the gates? Probably not. You think about Lorenowitz in Atlanta, same kind of thing, right?
Was that expansion draft?
I don't remember if Lorenowitz came through the expansion draft, but could you see that? Could you make an argument? And again, the cap number is a thing, but could you make an argument? Hey, Sebastian Leget's unprotected by Dallas. That's a veteran player, who's done very well in this league. He comes with some baggage these days, but still, maybe that's a guy.
We talked about Elise with the glow up, going from Palace to Bayern. Lorenowitz going from the Fire to Atlanta is wow. He was considering retiring, and then he ended up having an amazing run there and winning an MLS Cup there.
Yeah, rejuvenated his career. Maybe there's somebody on this list who could have their career rejuvenated by San Diego.
Outside of the expansion draft, what do you think? What move would you like to see from this new team that could generate actual both excitement and practicality. I mean, some people have thought that the Chucky Lozano selection was just a way to pander to the local audience
Sure. Yeah, it
and
is.
whatnot. But what do you think? Who would you like to see them bring in that would both bring excitement and practicality on the field?
Wow. It's a good question. I don't really have an obvious candidate in mind. I mean, again, Chucky Lozano, you're going for the Mexican American crowd with that signing. Maybe you're hoping to bring some people over from the Tijuana side of the border to watch your team play. I guess that could be a thing. Yeah, I don't know. I mean, I'm here for the Dax McCartys of the world, and he's retired. So who's kind of the next guy? Could it be a Diego Chara, for example? Chara, if I want to be specific about that. Let me check and see if he is unprotected, because again, it's not like they don't want to bring him back. Yeah, Diego Chara is unprotected. Don't know how much he's making. It's probably north of 500,000, 750. Maybe he's making $1 million. I don't actually know. Maybe he's a TAM player at this point, and he's backside his career only because of his age. But who wouldn't say Diego Chara wouldn't make you better in year one if you're an expansion team?
There was a name on this list that, for a brief moment, I really, really liked him, and I completely forgot he was in the league. Bobby Wood, available for the expansion draft.
Bobby Wood. Yeah, forgot he was in the league too. Who was he playing with?
New England.
New England, yeah. Because he was in Salt Lake for a little while, and then he was playing for Bruce in New England, and obviously the last year and a half have been very wild and woolly for the New England Revolution. Who may finally get their stadium? Is that a thing? We need to do like a
real estate
catch-up.
roundup.
Yeah, well, in other stadium news, as we get ready to close out the show, Red Bull Arena's got a new name. Did you know that, Rob? Did you know about this?
I didn't know it until you. Did I hear about it? Are you? Am I on the Leno?
Shows. Yeah. Did you hear about this?
Did you see it? I didn't until you told me at the beginning of the show.
Yeah, so Red Bull Arena now has a new sponsor. It is Sports Illustrated. So it will be called Sports Illustrated Stadium. And I think if people don't know, Sports Illustrated has been zombified. It's been split up. There is an editorial Sports Illustrated that is owned by one entity, and then there is the naming, like the rights to the name, marketing, licensing. Like if you want to, you could go to the company that owns the licensing for Sports Illustrated, and you could be like, I want to make Sports Illustrated, I don't know, beer cozies, and they'd be like, yeah, 100%, that's great. We'll license you the name Sports Illustrated so you can make Sports Illustrated beer cozies. Or is it koozies? I don't know.
Yeah, so Sports Illustrated, not really a magazine anymore. Just
no, they don't. No, they don't print a magazine at all. So that's ugly and gross, and I understand that's part of the world. But they also use a lot of AI writing over there at the actual editorial Sports Illustrated.
Which is wild because it was the pinnacle. The brand exists because of the pinnacle of sports writing.
I know. And I think there's a younger audience out there who are like, whatever, I don't care. What Sports Illustrated, it doesn't mean anything to me.
No.
But I'm telling you, if you are of a certain age, and you and I, Rob, are of a certain age, there was nothing bigger in the world of sports in terms of writing than Sports Illustrated.
People still know like the covers of certain issues that'll last forever. Like we've been talking about Grant Wall. He's come up a couple times. So the LeBron cover for Grant Wall, one of the biggest periodical pieces.
The Ali Frazier cover. I think Mickey Mantle. I think there's a Mickey Mantle cover that's very famous. I mean, just years and years and decades of sports history in this country chronicled by that magazine, and now it is this. I compared it on my Blue Sky account. I compared it to like Weekend at Bernie's, only instead of like having beach fun with Bernie, you like dress him up like a tech bro, and then you make him burn down your house. Like your childhood home is what it's happening. They're burning down my childhood home right now, Rob, with all this. Oh, and there's also some blockchain ticketing technology thing happening with this too, which
Please tell me that the swimsuit issue is still a thing. I mean, kids know about the swimsuit issue at least, right?
You know what? That's probably part of the licensing side rather than the editorial side. They probably do print a Sports Illustrated. It's the only thing that gets printed, is my guess. I actually don't know this at all. Let's say that Sports Illustrated scratched both a sports itch for a young Jason Davis and some other ones as well. Let's just say that and leave it there, right?
Yeah, we're talking about notable covers. I'll never forget Heidi Klum on the cover for the first time. That was a notable magazine cover indeed. Going back to the San Diego point, Nate threw out a name, Gio Reyna to San Diego.
If Landon Donovan had his way, Gio Reyna would be playing in San Diego next season. Yeah, I mean, look, I don't think it's time for Gio to give up on the European dream. I think he needs to find somewhere to play, and I don't think that it looks like that's Dortmund at the moment, and it might not be for a while. But, yeah, the idea of coming back to Major League Soccer just because he would play every week kind of makes me a little bit interested. Yeah, I don't know if San Diego will be the right place, though. I don't know. Expansion team, Gio? I don't know.
We shall see. Expansion draft, 10:30 Eastern tonight. We'll see what the foundational blocks of the new team in San Diego will turn out to be. Thank you, everyone, for tuning in to the live program here on Wednesday. Be sure to hit the subscribe button and become one of our early founding members of the MK Ultras. Like and subscribe to the YouTube channel. Follow along at MKickaround on X, Instagram, and Blue Sky. Write us a note, morningkickaround@gmail.com. Now accepting listener questions and nominations for Get to Know Your District. So, you think that this morning's been thoroughly kicked, Mr. Jason Davis?
I believe we've done just about the best job we could do kicking this thing. I'm going to go and cry into my pillow about FIFA just tearing apart the world's most beautiful game.
And I'm going to live on the edge of having fun at the company party without getting myself fired.
Shots,
all right?
shots.
Yeah, if all of a sudden this show starts every single day, you'll know how the Christmas party went. All right. See you next time, guys.
Bye-bye.